Good morning, welcome to another video. Today is Vo2MAX RAM testing day. We're gonna see how far I've come in around 6 months of training. I started training serious in November 2019. It's now May 2020, so around 6 months-ish of serious bike riding. I did a benchmark FTP in November 2019. I did one in February 2020, and I did one last week, Friday. I did another FTP test, but today is a Vo2MAX RAM test where we start at I think 60 watts and then go up every 3 or 4 minutes with 30 or 40 watts, I don't know exactly. They will measure my blood lactate and also my Vo2MAX with a mask. So yeah, let's see how far we've come. Basically what we just did was a pre-warm-up thing on the trainer to get the blood flow going, activate our muscles, get our heart rate a little bit raised for the first time today. So just to activate, prep our body a little bit more for the RAM test. Really, it's nothing special. I started off with 10 minutes of easy pedaling at 150 watts I think, and I raised it to 180 watts, and between minute 12 and minute 16 I did 3 really short bursts and one longer effort of around 1 minute at around 350 watts just to really wake up. Alright, now we used to have one major kind of measurement for our fitness levels in cycling, and that was the Vo2MAX RAM test. But recently there has been another kind of test, which is the FTP test, Functional Threshold Power Test. And you have two options there. You have the horrible option, which is 60 minutes. And you try to keep a high as possible wattage level for 60 minutes. You also have the version where you do 20 minutes of all-out cycling and then take 90 or 95%. I put it here on the screen. I think 95%. We'll see. I look it up. I did my FTP test last Friday. We talk about that later. And today is Vo2MAX RAM test. Now, what is a Vo2MAX RAM test? Basically, you start at a pretty low wattage, like around 100, 120, and then during time you go up in wattage until you can't pedal anymore. Now, you have different kind of protocols here. I think here in Athlon Diepenbeek, where I go, they use the 3-minute 40 watts protocol, I think. So let's say you start at 100 watts, you keep that for 3 minutes, and then you go up to 140 watts, you keep that for 3 minutes, then you go up to 180 watts, you keep that for 3 minutes, and then on until you can't pedal anymore. Now, there are also other protocols which use a 2-minute interval. You also have protocols where basically the wattage keeps increasing during time, so you don't have these blocks of stairs, but they just go up really slowly during time, again until you can't pedal anymore. So yeah, I'm excited, I'm fired up. We'll see how I do. I did a Vo2MAX test in September 2019. I think I finished around 360 watts with a Vo2MAX value of 59. So yeah, we'll see. Let's go. back. Test finished. Really good test, really happy with the results, especially for the kind of training I've been doing the last 6 months. So yeah, let's get back home, analyze, calculate a little bit, and then we'll talk about the results. Alright, here we are again, still alive. We just got the results back in our email from our test, so basically now it's time to crunch the numbers. Now, how are we going to analyze this and see if I improved, not improved, or stayed the same? We're going to look at a few factors. The first factor is our basically our first threshold. People like to call it the fat threshold or another kind of name. I just like to keep it simple and call it the first threshold. The first threshold is basically the point during exercise where you shift from fat as a main source, as a main energy source, towards carbohydrates or sugar as a main energy source. That is basically very simple, basic, the first threshold. You shift from fat towards carbohydrates or sugar. Now this shifting point is not like it is black and white, like before this threshold it is 100% fat and after this threshold it is 100% sugar. It's basically, it's a mix. In the beginning, if you're at a lower intensity, you use mainly fat, but there is also a little bit of sugar. But just when you make the intensity higher of an exercise, you get more sugar involved. Now this first threshold is basically the shifting point where it goes from mainly fat to mainly sugar. Alright? The second threshold is basically the switching point between an aerobic state towards an anaerobic state. Now what is this? Really simple. Before this threshold, your body is in an aerobic state, which means it can still handle, it can still cope with the oxygen demands for that kind of, or for that level of intensity. After the second threshold, your body goes into an anaerobic state, which means your body can't keep up with the oxygen demand and you start to build up lactic acid. Now, before this second threshold, where you're still in the aerobic state, you also build up a little bit of lactic acid, but it's not much. After this threshold, in the anaerobic state, you start to really build up the lactic acid, which creates this burny, crampy feeling in your muscles. So this point, the second threshold, is really important to see if we improved or not improved. Third factor to bring in this equation to see if we improved or not improved is our maximum heart rate. Now, our maximum heart rate is a little bit shady. It's not really that important, but it's telling us something about the condition of our heart and how well our heart is coping with a really high intensity. And then the fourth factor is our VO2, or actual VO2 max value, which is measured in milliliters per kilogram body weight per minute, and it's basically how well or how efficient your body can use oxygen, deploy it to the muscles, and break it basically back down and give it back to the world as CO2, I guess. It's really important because oxygen is very important for your muscles to function, to contract. Without oxygen, I wouldn't be sitting here and you wouldn't be watching this video. So VO2 max, a really important value when it comes to exercise testing. Now let's go in depth over these four values, which is our first threshold, fat towards sugar or carbohydrates. Second threshold, aerobic to an anaerobic state, or maximum heart rate that we can reach during the VO2 RAM test. and basically our VO2 max value, which is, by the way, measured in milliliters per minute per kilogram. Do you know that? Yeah, you do now. Basically what we see here is our VO2 max RAM test, all the way from the beginning over there towards the end over here. Some values, some numbers, some nerdy stuff, so let's get into it. We did our first VO2 max test 28th of August 2019, and I weighed in at around 73 kilograms of body weight. Now our second VO2 max test we did today, which is the 27th of May 2020, and I weighed in this morning at around 71 kilograms of body weight. Now what we see here is our first threshold point. Now remember that this first threshold point is the main shifting point between fat as a main focus for energy towards sugar or carbohydrates as a main energy source. Now, why is this first threshold point so important? Well, basically it tells us how good our base conditioning is and how high you can get your steady state pace. So yeah, really important if you want long, good rides. Also, if this value is really good, you can basically go a really long time by almost only using fat as an energy source, and therefore basically sparing all your glycogen or sugar storage in your muscles, which make you basically ride faster, better and harder. Back in August I was at around 144 beats per minute at 175 watts. Today I was riding at 157 beats per minute, and I was able to push the pedals at 190 watts. So again, this means a pretty good improvement in base conditioning, which is logical because I did a lot of sober training, a lot of green, yellow zone, base training, steady state kind of stuff. So really happy to see these results. Now over here we have our second threshold, and remember it's the shifting point from a aerobic state where your body can still cope or handle the oxygen demands towards an anaerobic state where you start to really build up lactic acid and really feel the burn in your muscles. Now, why is the second threshold point so important? Well, basically the second threshold point is really important for exercises that are of a higher intensity. Two good examples are time trial races or like longer steady climbs. Basically, the better your second threshold point is, the harder you can go for a longer amount of time. My first test, I reached my second threshold at 178 beats per minute, and I was able to push 255 watts at this second threshold. Today I only reached the second threshold until my heart was beating 192 beats per minute, and I was pushing 295 watts. So really happy with this improvement. So over here we have our third value, which is our max heart rate. As I mentioned, nothing really special to say about it. The first test I did 199. I managed to get up to 199 beats per minute. Today I managed to get up to 205 beats per minute, so an improvement. Happy with that. Which is much more interesting is this here, which is our watts per kilogram value. And as you know, in the cycling world, watts per kilogram is really important. Not only in cycling worlds, but also in other sport disciplines. Basically, what your watts per kilogram value makes or breaks you as an athlete. It really tells how much power you're able to put out per kilogram of body weight, which it's a really important value. especially for climbers in cycling. It's really important, but also time trialists, and basically the better your watts per kilogram value is, the better cyclist you are. Today I managed to get up from 5 watts per kilogram during the first test, and today I pushed 5.6 watts per kilogram, which is good. Now, last but not least, the value why we do this test, the Vo2MAX value, which is measured in milliliters per kilogram per minute. Now, how did I do? Our first test back in August last year, I managed to get a Vo2MAX of 59. Today, you see this 63.5 milliliters per kilogram per minute. Now, as we go back to here, I know I've lost 2 kilograms, so this gives me basically a kind of mathematic advantage in this equation to get a better result here. But still, which is also really interesting, and what everybody always wants to know is, to what wattage level did you get up to during the test? Now, my first test back in August 2019, I managed to get to 360 watts, which I held for around 2 minutes. Now today I managed to finish this block of 360 watts and get into the block of 400 watts for like 90 seconds. And then I died a little, but I'm still here for you guys. Now, the reason I am so happy about this is I improved all the important values or factors for my bike riding. All the important factors that basically make or break you as a cyclist, I managed to improve by putting my main focus on base training, steady state training, green yellow zoning kind of stuff. And yeah, I did a few Vo2MAX sessions at higher intensity. I did go out in the Belgian Ardennes and did some intensity climbing on longer climbs. But I mean, I see people nowadays crush themselves each and every time, every day, to improve, and I see more and more people ending up here at my treatment table with injuries, with lack of motivation, with all kinds of stuff. You don't need to crush yourself each and every day, KOM hunting on Strava, crushing yourself on Zwift or just outside to improve your bike ride capabilities. You can just do steady state training, base training, and you will go faster. I don't have a mic, but it just dropped. If you want to see in depth how I improve my Vo2MAX values and my FTP values, I have a brand new video coming up really soon for you guys. And if you're interested, don't forget to subscribe down below to the channel so you don't miss out on this really cool video. I will go into full detail of my training program that I've been doing for the last kind of 6 months. And yeah, we'll see. Just comment down below how much your Vo2MAX values are, how much your FTP value is, how do you improve them if you're having maybe trouble improving your FTP or Vo2MAX values. And yeah, let's see where we can help each other. As always, much more cool stuff coming really soon. So like, comment, subscribe somewhere to the channel, and I guess this is it. Ciao guys, bye guys.